There's one thing Cochise County seems to be known anymore these days. It's about having to constantly replace election directors.
Absolutely.
And they're close to apparently naming a new one, just waiting for the blessing of the Board of Supervisors. Terry Jo Neff, who covers county for us, can you tell us who this new person is going to be and what hurdles are left in the way?
Sure. So a lot of folks in Cochise County, particularly in Sierra Vista, will know Melissa Avant. Melissa's been the regional director for First Things First. It's a well-known statewide nonprofit that engages in early childhood education. Melissa has been offered the job by Sharon Gilman, our county administrator, but because the elections director position is so key here in Cochise County and works so closely with the county recorder and our Board of Supervisors, Ms. Gilman has wanted to make sure that the Board of Supervisors are on the same page with her and that they give the blessing to Melissa's hiring. That is going to come up next Tuesday
At the regular Board of Supervisors meeting. Is there any reason to believe she wouldn't get a blessing from the panel?
So what I am being told, Matt, is that there's at least one supervisor who might not be particularly fond of having Melissa become the elections director, not for any reasons dealing with qualifications, but more from political ideology as far as how elections are conducted, and beliefs regarding electronic tabulations, things like that. We'll see on Tuesday if it's a unanimous vote to give her the job or not.
Does it need to be unanimous?
It doesn't. We just need 2 of the 3, and I cannot imagine Kathleen Gomez or Frank Antonori turning down an otherwise qualified candidate.
So how many will this be? How many election directors this decade will this have been? Keeping score at home.
We don't even need to go decade. So we're talking. We're on 5.
5 since.
And so she's going to be 6. Yeah.
Since what? 2022.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Which is just unheard of. And what's problematic for Cochise County, Matt, is we lost David Stevens earlier this year, who was our most experienced elections official. Billy Cloud has come in. He's done a really trooper of a job trying to learn the job, things like that. The problem is we don't have anybody with really solid long-term election experience. And if Melissa was not to take the job, not to be given the job, we're going to be starting over, and we're going into some really key elections. We have Congressional District 7 has a special election coming up, and as we all know, there's going to be a new jail district election in November. So we need to get an elections director in there. We need somebody competent who can do the job, and we just kind of need to move forward.
Well, you mentioned a really interesting thing. I mean, this is an off-year election. There's no big national things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, obviously the CD7, but that's a special circumstance. But this jail tax redo,
Mm-hmm.
if I guess we'll call it that, obviously a very complex situation. Where are we at with that?
So we are still waiting for a judge from Apache County to rule on whether or not this lawsuit against the first 2023 jail district election can be settled. If so, what the settlement agreement provisions are. We don't even know at this point if Adrian Fontes, our Secretary of State, is being granted his request to intervene, which he filed weeks ago. This is an unheard of, it's new territory. There are attorneys all over the state who deal with election law who cannot believe that Judge Latham still has not made rulings in this case.
So let's, obviously something like this, the hypotheticals, you kind of have to play them all out because the consequences matter to taxpayers.
Sure.
Who are paying taxes right now.
A lot of
and
money.
The intention to build a jail. So let's play this out. So let's say Judge Latham sides with Fontes.
Mm-hmm.
What does that do to this November election date?
So the Secretary of State, through his attorneys at the Arizona Attorney General's office, has already said, we're okay with you doing a new election. If you want to put this back to the voters, do the election the way it should have been done back in 2023, we're okay with that. What Fontes and the Attorney General's office are not okay with, Matt, is some of the language, again, political ideology kind of stuff that worked its way into the settlement agreement. I cannot imagine a judge would approve the settlement agreement leaving some of those items in. It would be interesting to know if our Board of Supervisors and their outside counsel, Tim Lasota, are making any inquiries with the Secretary of State. You would think, as we're getting down to the wire, that there would be some kind of conversation going on and trying to get Fontes on the same page, agreeable to whatever we're going to do in November, and let's move this forward.
But some of this is eventually going to have to do with how it's worded on the ballot, in the physical ballot.
Absolutely. And again, the resolution that was approved recently to call for an election on November 4th has some wording that is concerning as well. It's not really legally binding in the sense that what the actual ballot language would be, but still Fontes's office would definitely have some issues with some of that.
Okay, well, this is how much in terms of preparing the ballot and the language for that, how much is the election director's job, presumably will be taken by Melissa Avant? What role would she have in all that?
So my understanding is Melissa would be coming in around July. So we're already going to be right into the CD7 primary election. So Marisol Renteria, who is our current interim election director, she's had the position since February of last year, would obviously have to stay on and handle July, probably handle September with Melissa just watching and kind of learning. As far as November, you're not going to want to just throw a brand new election director into there. So the assumption again would be that Marisol Renteria is going to stick around.
Okay, well, this is an ongoing crazy situation. It doesn't seem to be getting any less crazy anytime soon. But Terry Jo Neff does great reporting on all this. Follow her, myheraldreview.com. Thank you for tuning in and have a great day.